Hello students, in this video we are going to see about classification of caste. Before get into the subject, we must know the introduction about the caste, casting, caste accounting and caste accountancy. What do you mean by caste? Caste is the amount of actual expenditure incurred in the production and sale of product or expended in rendering service. It is the actual amount of expenditure incurred for the product or the service. And what do you mean by casting? Casting is nothing but the techniques and the process of ascertainment of cost. It's the amount of calculating the total cost incurred for the product or service. And what is cost accounting? Cost accounting is the process of recording and accounting for all the elements of cost. While recording the cost, there are various elements involved in the cost. So it is a process of recording each and every transactions that are involved in the producing the cost or service. And what is cost accountancy? Cost accountancy is the application of costing and cost accounting principles, methods, and techniques. It's a system of recording the cost accounting. Now we all thorough about the introduction of cost, costing, cost accountancy, and cost accounting. Now we go to the topic, the classification of cost. There are various classifications of the cost. This is the cost classification is the process of grouping cost according to their common characteristics. Generally, there are various bases on which cost can be classified. On the basis of elements, on the basis of functions, on the basis of nature or behavior, on the basis of controllability, on the basis of normality, and on the basis of decision making and control. Now see one by one what are the various classification of cost on the various bases. The first basis is on the basis of elements. On the basis of elements, the cost is classified into three heads. The first one is material, another one is labor, and the third one is expenses. And each and every element of cost is divided into two heads. One is a direct material and indirect material, and another one is direct labor and indirect labor, and direct expenses and indirect expenses. And all direct elements of cost, such as direct material, direct labor, and direct expenses, is collectively known as prime cost. And all indirect elements of cost, such as indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expenses, is collectively known as overhead. And the next classification is on the basis of functions. On the basis of the functions, there are four major heads of classification. The first classification on the basis of function is production cost. Production cost is the cost of sequence of operations which begins with supplying materials, labor, and services and ends with primary packing of the product. It is also known as manufacturing or factory cost incurred in converting raw material into finished product. And the next type of cost on the basis of function is administrative cost. Administration cost is incurred for overall planning, organizing, and control of the enterprise. And the third cost is selling cost. Selling cost is the cost of seeking to create and stimulate the demand and securing orders. It's known as selling expenses and selling overheads, which is comprising of all expenses of selling department, including product planning and advertising. The fourth type of cost on the basis of function is distribution cost. Distribution cost is also known as distribution expenses or overheads, which comprises of packing, warehouse, or cost of freight charges, etc. It also includes some of the other costs as well. One is a research cost and another one is the development cost. The next basis of cost is on the basis of nature. On the basis of the nature or behavior, cost is classified into fixed, variable, and semi-variable cost. What is fixed cost? Fixed costs are those costs which do not change with increase or decrease in quantum of production but remain static or remain constant. And the next cost is variable cost. Variable cost may increase or decrease in direct proportion to increase or decrease in the production, so that it is known as variable cost. The cost may be semi-fixed or semi-variable. Semi-fixed or semi-variable cost is the cost which is partially variable. We may say that it is partially fixed also. And the next basis is on the basis of controllability. On the basis of controllability, the cost can be classified into controllable cost and uncontrollable cost. Controllable costs which can be influenced by the action of a specified member of an undertaking. For example, direct material, direct labor, etc. Whereas uncontrollable cost, this cost which cannot be influenced by the action of any specified member of an undertaking, such as direct material and direct labor. This cost cannot be uncontrollable sometimes. And the next basis is on the basis of normality. This is a cost incurred in the conditions in which the output is normally attained. Normal cost is included in the cost of production, and it is another cost is abnormal cost. Abnormal costs are not usually incurred at a given level of output in the conditions in which that level of output is normally produced. Abnormal cost is usually excluded from the cost of production. And the next basis is on the basis of the decision making and control. On the basis of the decision making and control, there are various types of cost are there. Let us see one by one. The first cost is shutdown cost. Shutdown cost is the cost which is incurred irrespective of plant is in operation or it's shut down. For example, cost of rent, rates, depreciation, maintenance, etc. The next type of cost is sunk cost. Sunk cost which is incurred in the past and it is not relevant to the current decision making. For example, return on value of plant is irrelevant for replacement of machinery. And the next cost is opportunity cost. Opportunity cost which are related to the sacrifice made or the benefits foregone or opportunity cost. And the next cost is inputted cost. It is a notional cost to be considered for making cost comparable. For example, rent of own building, interest on own capital, etc. are not actually paid but may be taken as a cost notionally, so that it is known as the inputted cost or notional cost. The next cost is out of pocket cost. This is the cost which is payable in cash as against the costs such as depreciation which do not involve cash payment. And the next cost is replacement cost. It is the current cost at which an asset or material that can be replaced with the identical one from the market. It reflects the present market price of such asset or material, so that it is known as replacement cost. The next cost is conversion cost. In the name itself, we may understand that this is the cost of production excluding cost of direct material. It is the aggregate of direct wages, direct expenses, and overhead cost of converting raw material into finished product. And the next cost is product cost. Product cost are those costs which are identified with the product and are included in inventory values. They can be charged, allocated, or apportioned to the products. And finally, the period cost. Period costs are those costs which are identified and are not identified in the product or a job. This period cost is usually incurred for a particular period, like rent, rates, and taxes and salaries. These are usually paid for the month, day, or week, like that. Their benefit is usually exhausted with the expiry of certain period. They are totally deducted as expenses during the period in which they are incurred. They are not at all included in the inventory values which are carried forward to the next period. This period costs are necessary to generate revenue, but they cannot be identified with the units of products. Now you all understand about the various classification of cost. I hope that this video will be able to understand the basic concepts of cost and the various classification of cost. Thank you. Thank you all.